You are now watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White. You are now watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
Oh, it's on me? Yeah. It's been a while. I heard it in my headphones. It's been a while. Good morning, everybody. The coach looking at me over there at the corners. Good morning, coach.
All right, CJ.
It's been a while. I hear playback, G. That's why. It's been a while. Good morning, everybody. I hear myself. Looking at me over there at the corners. Good morning. I still hear myself.
All right, CJ.
It's been a while. I hear playback, G. That's why. There we go. That's why I paused for a second. We in studio, so we looking at ourselves. We in the comment section, so we got it together. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador. I'm Perry White. He's Roger Cador. I'm a man, the neurosurgeon on the board, Garrett Edgerson. Hope you guys have had a great week. The weather is changing over down here in the South. Coach, you, I, and Garrett all deal with allergies, so you know what we're dealing with right now currently.
Yeah. Well, I just left Vero and it was windy.
You got to get in that mic, Coach.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just left Vero Beach, and it was really windy down there the 3 days I was there. And, oh, my goodness. I suffered a little yesterday afternoon, but today I'm a little better.
What do you take for your allergies, Coach?
Zyrtec. I did do something you heard. Say at night you double up rather than take one, you take two. Mm-hmm. I started doing this about a couple of weeks ago when you mentioned it. I do one in the morning and two at night, so help me to sleep.
Oh, yeah. And the only way for me to sleep, and I don't know if you guys out there deal with allergies as well, but, you know, if I don't take two of them, pop two of them things, and I do the Claritin, and if I don't pop two at night before I go to bed, I'm going to wake up most likely about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the issue with it is, it starts to drain, and, Coach, I have a hard time going back to bed. I look up 2-3 hours went by, the sun coming up, and I'm just starting to doze off, but now it's time to get up and get the day going.
Well, I go back to sleep. I'm up all the time. I can get up and go back to sleep. So, and, you know, for some reason this time of year I don't sleep much. Mm-hmm. It's like when I was coaching, I guess.
That's all it is. You got your mind. See, this is the spring. And how did that affect you when you were coaching to get your clock set in order to go about getting up, getting the day started, being prepared, and as well as getting a team prepared, a group of young men?
I can say it now. I couldn't say it then. Mm-hmm. I used to take a nap in my office.
Okay.
And my kids understood that because they know my sleep pattern at night was I may go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock, but I'm up at 1, 2 o'clock and may not go back to sleep. So before practice, I could take a nap, and they respected the fact that coach is in there resting. Mm-hmm. And so they allowed me to do that.
Was it known around the don't go in there while coach napping?
The players did, but
yeah, don't wake him up.
No, if someone came to visit me like you who were important, mm-hmm. they would make sure that I got to see you.
You would wake up for me, Coach?
Yes, I would.
You tell them, tell them to come back later.
It's part of the business. It's part of the business that you have to entertain guests or welcome them. And, you have to do it.
Coaching is a lifestyle. You know, and it is a lifestyle that comes with it in terms of the early mornings, the late nights, checking on student athletes, making sure travel plans are together, making sure plans of other teams that's coming in. So much incorporate. How much would you say if you were to scale to a percentage of 100 that coaching really how much did it play in taking over your life, making sure all those components were going?
Listen, at HBCUs and small colleges in general, where you don't have the staff personnel to do things. You know, when I was doing this thing by myself, obviously I was a lot younger and could do it. I did everything, from literally washing the clothing to handing out the uniforms and doing everything. So those are the kind of things that we had to do in order to survive and make the program work. Because you know what? The administration didn't care to a large extent about all of that. They just wanted you to be successful. and represent the university well. But if they had known behind the scene what you had to do, they might have thought different about maybe putting a little more money so you could have capable assistants.
Maybe you made things look a little too easy over there.
Well, that's what a lot of people said.
Mm-hmm.
You made it look easy, and they thought it was easy to do. It was not that difficult until they hired the next guy. and he found out this ain't as easy as it looked. And it was the same thing with fundraising. At historical black schools, coaches don't fundraise. And at a lot of other schools they don't. But I was able to because I realized if I wanted certain things, it was the only way to get it. Is to go out and work and make it happen.
You talking about wanting certain things, and last week you had an opportunity to be interviewed by Brandy B. Harris, two-time award-winning Emmy journalist from WBRZ, and she's been doing a Black History Month series, and she wanted to talk to you and get some history because she had questions about this rich legacy that comes with Southern University baseball. And a lot of people, I think, the younger generation, if they see Southern University baseball, they look at Roger Cador and everything that was after that you created during your tenure at Southern. But Southern has a rich baseball history, and you had an opportunity to be able to share that with her on her Black History series.
It's much more rich than people could even imagine how rich the baseball program was in terms of with really, really good players and winning. And it was, the standard was extremely high. And I'm just so fortunate that I got to be a member of that group by playing from 70 to 73 on the baseball team. I mean, just a wonderful chance to play with the Danny Goodwins and the Lee B.B. Richards, who was a fourth player taken in the draft in 71 by the White Sox. We're talking about, and then 3 years later, Danny Goodwin was the very first player taken in the draft, and we had a guy by the name of Henry Baker drafted in the second round by Boston Red Sox. So those are the kinds of players that I played with, which is just incredible when you start thinking about it. If that was to happen today, well, we did have it happen with Ricky Weeks and Michael Woods and Fred Lewis and Dwan Day and them guys we had. Can you imagine at an HBCU 2002, 2003, we had that kind of stuff taking place, but not at the level. Ricky went in the first round, the second player taken. Michael Woods was a first-round draft choice. Fred Lewis was a second-round draft choice, and I think Dwan Day went in the fifth or sixth round. So we did have some pretty good pedigree with kids during the 2002, 2003. But there ain't nothing like this has happened since because it's been tough.
You had a great story. You was talking about Danny Goodwin having the privilege of being the number one draft pick, not once but twice, but he chose to go to college. Talk about that story of who he was and ultimately coming to Southern.
Yeah, he's from Peoria, Illinois, and I think his daddy attended Grambling. Can you imagine that? His dad attended Grambling, but he chose Southern as the place, and he majored in biology. He wanted to be a doctor, but obviously he was the first player taken in 75 and went on to the California Angels and never was able to pursue that career as a doctor. But playing with him, and when I tell you he was just a regular type person, no arrogancy about him, no that I'm Danny Goodwin, I'm this or that, so good. The other thing that was really so rewarding to be a part of, and I didn't notice it until now that I can look back, is that there was no jealousy of Danny Goodwin. Players were not jealous of who Danny Goodwin was. Matter of fact, we embraced Danny Goodwin because we realized in our private moment that if we wanted to be seen by scouts, they're going to be here because they come and see Danny. And this is our chance to show them what we could do. And in my case, I was able to do that. I benefited from Danny Goodwin being here. Remember, I was a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
And, I never really from September to February, I'm in basketball, no baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in baseball March, April, and May. That's it. All the rest of the time, I'm a basketball player. So, so Danny Goodwin being here really gave me a chance to be noticed by scouts.
That's a lot of history that you had at Southern by being around there. What was history? Talk about some of the guys that people may not know out there outside of Southern that play HBCU baseball, because it kind of became the new league for us. And I don't know if I really want to quite call it the new age Negro League, because guys were now going to college, going to HBCUs. You didn't have the Negro League no more because it has since went away. And so for you to see HBCU baseball players around the conference and the SWAC, name some of those guys and those programs that they were a part of.
Well, let's start with Grambling, who was legendary with the president, Ralph Emerson Jones.
Mm-hmm.
The president at Grambling was a great recruiter. He went all over the country recruiting players. And he had a lot of players who played there and went to the big leagues, like Rav Gar, John Jeter, Matt Alexander. Oh my goodness, he had, and I can't name them all because as I get older, the names ain't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But all of those guys were really great players at Grambling, and we're talking about. Then you go to Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jackson State had about, you remember Dennis Arcane Boyd, who was a pitcher with Boston?
Mm-hmm.
He played at Jackson State. Probably 5'10", 150 pounder. But he was a really good pitcher. Had another little guy named Ted Ford that played with him. And they got the guy who's the third base coach in Houston now, I think. He was a number 1 draft choice from Jackson. Can't think of his name. But in the story, Coach Brady was the coach, and he told me how he found that guy in Tupelo, Mississippi. Said a guy called him on and say, "Hey, we playing baseball this Sunday. We got a kid you need to come and see." And yeah. Oh, it was so funny. So he said he went there. They have him playing second base. Said he was turning the first baseman over. His arm was so strong. And he said, man, where y'all had this guy? And he was able to sign him, bring him to Jackson, didn't give him any money. The kid ended up being a number 1 draft choice.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, those are the kind of stories back in the day that you could find players like that. Nobody's recruited, So it's really interesting. So, and I think about Jackson and Grambling. And Prairie View and Texas Southern really had good players also. Alcorn had good players. Literally everyone had good players.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to Arkansas Pine Bluff. They had some Shrugs was the name of the players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard that name.
Mm-mm.
The Shrugs brothers. Whoa, what great players. Big, strong hitters. So they had those players when we played back in the 70s.
So much rich history, and you talked about it with Brandy B. Harris, as you explained. Unfortunately, a lot of our history is oral.
Yeah.
There are not many people around like you who had an opportunity to experience all of this, not only as a player, but then a coach and have success on both ends, and to be able to be generation after generation, to watch guys come and go and then train up the next generation and guys coming and going. So, this is the issue that I have a lot of times with the conference when I start to talk about the SWAC. This is the issue I have a lot of times when I start talking about the institutions that are members. They all have so much rich history, why don't we do a great enough job or do a better job in terms of telling our stories? Because we have a rich legacy. We have a rich history. HBCUs were for us, and for so many of us that are us, that look like us, they went on because they had the opportunity afforded to them to get an education, to showcase their talent, and be student athletes, and yet we just let that history just go away.
Yeah, and you can't let it go away. You really need to capture it, try to relive it, make it come back to life, breathe breath of fresh air into it, because it's a part of history. Mm-hmm. The Negro League existed because of HBCU baseball. This is where they got their players from. They weren't getting them out of high school because they didn't have the technology, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But they knew those guys were playing college baseball, mm-hmm. and that's why they got in semi-pro league. That's why how they found their players. So it's a great history, and to be honest with you, with guys like Wilbert Ellis at Grambling, Robert Brady at Jackson State, and myself, and there may be some people on the East Coast in the MEAC that got, because they might have done a better job of writing their history down, because it was a little more educated people. They had more things happening on the East Coast back in the days than it was happening in the real South. You got me? Mm-hmm. So they did a little better job with the written stuff and than we did. So I'm hopeful that we'll get somebody to say, because of the way you can, because of the technology that exists, I'm hopeful that each school will start now saying, let's do project, hire students to be student workers to explore, and find something in our history. Mm-hmm.
And not only that, then reach out to people like yourself who are still around and have sit-downs with them, have conversations, so where you sit down and you orally still talking about it, but now we're archiving this oral history from a person who's seen it, lived it, and still is it.
I think it's the way. There was a gentleman that wrote a book about HBCU baseball, and he went to from Ohio, a white guy, and he went to each HBCU to try and find. He said he struggled at Southern. He said they had literally nothing on Lou Brock. He said literally nothing. That shouldn't be. He said it shouldn't be. And he said and they had very little on Ricky Weeks. And Ricky Weeks played in 2000. He said that should have been a whole bunch of stuff on Ricky Weeks. And, I can't explain it. I do know we struggle to find pictures of me when people, they call my pictures.
Yeah.
They can't find them. How could that happen? And it's not my job to be able to take pictures of myself and save them.
Yeah.
You
was worried about far more other things like winning championship and molding young men into men.
And I wasn't thinking that we're going to need them pictures when I retired. I was thinking they would take them. Mm-hmm. But thanks to my friends at the Advocate, they have helped us with a lot of stuff as it relates to having pictures as, articles and stuff of that nature.
I think, to me, it's a travesty the way that I think they handle the Ricky Weeks situation. And I say this not to be negative, but I'm saying this as constructive criticism. Here's a guy that was voted the best baseball player in the entire country. And, Coach, there are a lot of baseball players.
Yeah.
And for him to have received that award, that prestigious award, and that alone propelled Southern's name in history and in lore with schools that probably never even knew who Southern was unless you played them and beat them, or at that point you had built a program to that. But there was still a lot of people who may not have quite known Southern, and to have this propelled to the top of the mountain, to get that award, and then for the school not see that value that other schools, because I can tell you, when LSU gets a Golden Spikes Award winner, you're going to know it.
Yeah.
And they're going to for sure you forever know what we have because there's a honor and a prestige and a value that goes with that. And not only the value because the school name is associated, now you can market it, it's a value in recruiting. When you're recruiting student athletes, particularly baseball, and when you're recruiting students to say, look, we had this prestigious award won at our school. This is why you should come here. I just think to see them handle in the same way with you, to have a coach in you and Ricky both in the Hall of Fame together, just to say the College Baseball Hall of Fame is the most prestigious honor one could get. And for me, I don't understand how that isn't enshrined and constantly talked about and beat up. It should have been a whole, the institution itself, which once again, I hate I'm going down this, but this is what it is. We are HBCUs, so we understand black history, I think, more than anybody because what we do is cultivate and mold people who ultimately create history for us to go back and say they were black, giving you opportunities and many others. That should have been a whole black history series in terms of our greats from Southern University, telling our stories, reaching back, sitting down, having conversations, having lecture series. You know what I would do to see you and Pete Richardson sitting in front of people just having a Black History lecture series to go back in time and have conversations and tell us what your experience was like at Southern, people that you were able to meet, the young men that you may not have seen to go off and become successful, but because that HBCU gave them an opportunity, they are successful. Those are the type of things that we have to do better. And I'm going to start at Southern because I'm here, and it's my alma mater. It's all of our alma maters. But yet, us as a whole, as HBCUs and black community, we have to hold ourselves responsible and can't wait on nobody to tell our story because Dr. Everett Gibson always said, if you don't tell your own story, it's never going to be told the way it should be. And we got to be able to do that. And I would love for us to be able to have those type of things to where we tell it. What are we sitting around waiting on WBRZ to tell a story for? What are we sitting around for ESPN and all of these other people to tell our stories when we know the stories and we have you right here to be able to sit down to explain that story? And people, I think, would pay good money to sit in a lecture series to hear success from somebody who understands how to do it from limited resources and not have made an excuse.
Talk, Terry. Talk, Terry. Talk.
It bothers me. It really does, Coach. Like, I look around, and I'm big on archiving history because, you know, I made a post about something not too long ago, and it was talking about UAPB's women's basketball team, and they had some issues that they were dealing with. But I was explaining how this women's basketball team could solidify themselves as perhaps the best or one of the best basketball teams in women basketball history at UAPB. Not only did I talk about that, I started talking about the players solidifying themselves as some of the best players to play. Somebody come in and was like, you know, that's the thing about you young guys. You don't know about, you know, then he started naming about a team that was in the 80s. How the hell I'm supposed to know? I was born in 88, you know.
It's not written.
How was I supposed to know what happened in the 80s? Yes, I am young, but where am I going to dig to find this information when, like you said, this guy came to Southern University to write a book, and it was hard for him to find that history.
Yeah.
And that's history of a winning award and championship. Now you're talking about going back into the 80s. And if you don't have those people, because he was saying, you know, there were All-Americans and all, well, sit down and you got to get people to tell these stories, because if not, how am I the next generation? And I want to learn my history, and I don't have a clue about my history.
But he did say the lady who was over the library was extremely helpful. Mm-hmm. He said she dug and she dug. Couldn't find much on Lou. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, if it was football, they probably had more information because the yearbook used to do more football. But they did, because it covered the fall, and it was printed in the spring, baseball was left out. You got me? Because it covered the fall. And it got football and basketball, and the spring sports got forgotten about. So I don't blame the students who were writing that. I blame the editor who was over there and saying, we've got to do a better job. if we don't capture it this year, we put it in the next edition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to do it. You got to be proactive in your thinking. You don't leave anyone out.
That's it. Let's go to the comments. Vark Williams says, exactly. Jeremiah Clark said, we treat our greats like trash. Listen to an ex-LSU baseball player speak about Skip Berkman. You'd think they were talking about God.
Well, I'm not God, so Jeremiah, I'm not God. I hope they don't talk to me. You know,
well, he just
I know what
yeah.
you mean, because I know Skip Berkman very well, and I know a lot of his players. And, you know, he did do some good things for him. You know, he made a lot of demands on them, and they rose to the occasion and accomplished a lot of stuff. Same thing we did at Southern. It's just different because the players don't have no one to talk to, so they could tell all of the good things. There aren't many outlets like Chopping It Up with Cador or Jaguar Joyner. They have limited situation where information can be dispersed unless it's among themselves. You got me? So that's really one of the problem. But, you know, our players have great stories to tell, just like Jeremiah, who went to Jackson. Well, who you going to tell your story to, Jeremiah, about Jackson? Nobody. So you see the problem. It's universal when it comes to HBCUs. It's not just Southern. It's universal.
Yeah, Jeremiah says an athletic department is more than football. When are we going to figure that out? We have to promote the entire athletic department program, the entire athletic program.
It's coming. Don't worry about it. It's coming.
Well, he's speaking as a whole, Garrett.
It's coming.
Across the SWAC?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
That's what he's saying. He's speaking.
I can speak for us.
Yeah, he's speaking in terms of athletics because it's bigger than Southern. That's what we're saying. There's so much history out there. Like Coach talking about history at Jackson and Grambling, and somebody coming to me telling me about history about UAPB's women's basketball. They have to want to be able to tell those stories so we can have that value of our programs.
Yeah, I think me and Coach had this conversation last night, right, Coach? We had this conversation. So we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work.
We're going to get it.
We're going to try to make it work.
We're going to make it work. There is something coming. There is something coming. And, you know, you wanted me to tell a story that I told that team that beat Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, because I love that story.
You know, when I told them that when history is written, they were going to be a part of it. And I told it before it happened. And I'm not God. But I did tell the story because I felt something special about that group when I brought them in '85. It was a special group, and I said, on the north end of the practice football field goalpost, I'm talking to these kids, and I said, and we had no field to practice on or play on. We had just finished a practice there, and I told them, when history is written, when it's written, you all are going to be a part of it. I didn't go into detail about what only that when it's written, they'll be a part of it. I didn't know what. Trust me. It was divine intervention from God that put it in my heart, that ended up turning into words that came out of my mouth that I was able to pass to the kids. And this was like the spring of '86, and a year later, in the spring of '87, they won.
Those are the type of things that, you know, you sit down and you talk, and I love the fact that you guys talking about there's going to be a change. My whole issue is, I understand. I got the neurosurgeon right here, and I got the legend right here. Anything can happen between you two guys. It's the rest of the league. It's the rest of the people that's out there.
We're working.
That's it. That's all I want to know.
The neurosurgeon is telling you we're working.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Well, I want them to know.
A change is coming.
Vark Williams said, good morning, Edward Moore. He said, good morning, guys. And Vark Williams said, Coach, we need you to help Crenshaw recruit.
I did this weekend over in Vero Beach. You know, recruiting is so different now.
Yeah.
Than when I coach. It's so different. It's so different. because travel ball and all of the other stuff that's going into have made it difficult to recruit in. You know, a lot of those travel ball coaches and parents don't know who I am, you know. And I say parents, but the kids, one of the kids I talked with this weekend, his daddy said, I'm letting my son make the decision. I'll be damned if I'll let a 16-year-old kid make a decision. He's going to lead you off that cliff if you don't watch it, you know.
Let's look at this before we get ready to go to break. Coach Jeremiah Clark had something else to say. He said JSU had great in 77 and 78. I believe they had a reunion a few years ago and wanted players to pay for the rings. What sense does that make? We're supposed to be honoring these guys, saying that they wanted them to pay for their own rings instead of honoring them.
That's where? Jackson?
Yeah, he said Jackson 77 to 78. So you remember 77, 78 Jackson State?
No, I wasn't coaching then. But I understand they don't have the money. They don't have the money. So, and the other thing is, the presidents don't understand the value of making an investment in athletics. They don't understand the value. You have to invest. Oh, well, you have to spend money to make money. Let me put it. They don't understand it. You'll be surprised. And they have people who are presidents who just don't understand. They just think, they don't look at the big picture. What are programs around the country doing? They're investing in athletics to make money, bring more students in, get more sponsorship, get more donation. I mean, that's what it's really about. And unless you look at what is working, you're going to follow something that is failing. You're going to follow. You got to look at what is working. I was far from the smartest person. I probably was the least prepared person, but I was smart enough to know, hey, this work. I'm going to follow this.
That's it.
I'm following that trail. I mean, you know, that's all I did. I didn't try to create something. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't a neurosurgeon. I could never be a neurosurgeon. But I knew that if this is working, I can follow it. And that's all I did. It was simple, easy as Sunday morning.
Let's get ready to take a break, pay some bills. You guys stay with us. We'll be right back, all right? Stay tuned to more to Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time. Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
BRAC implemented the Imagine Your Park strategic plan nearly 20 years ago. The results transformed the park system in East Baton Rouge Parish. There are 12 new community parks, 6 dog parks, Liberty Lagoon Water Park, skateboard parks, fishing ponds, a new conservation area in Central, improved playgrounds, and a growing trail system. It's really a lot to keep track of.
So we decided to give you an insider's peek into some of these amazing new community assets through the eyes of the folks who know them best, BRAC's community partners.
My name is Nathaniel Klum, and I am Paddle BR. What I often say I am is chief doer of stuff. The two things that everyone wanted were paddling and trails, and in our case, paddle trails. And so we did a lot of work to make it so that people could get out on the bayou. but without access points, no one can use them. Rec has been amazing at building paddle launch sites so that we can get out on the water and enjoy everything that Baton Rouge has to offer. Not only are they listening to everything that Imagine Your Parks and Imagine Your Parks 2 that we asked for, but it's actually getting done, which I don't know about you, but that makes me happy every day of the week.
No wonder BRAC is the recipient of the National Gold Medal by the National Recreation and Parks Association. There really is something about East Baton Rouge and national champions. BRAC, #1 and still getting better.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today by Cador & Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, everybody, we are back. More Chopping Up. Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I'm Perry White. He's Roger Cador, the neurosurgeon on the board. Garrett Edgerson. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning. Coach, you had the opportunity to go over to Vero Beach, Florida this weekend to participate, working along with MLB with the Andre Dawson Baseball Classic. Give us some insight about everything that took place with that.
Well, you know, I saw a lot of good baseball. I'm really pleased with the level of competition that this work has engaged in. Now, and the one thing that conversation Andre Dawson and I had was that he was also impressed with when we playing the same level of competition in not Power 5 schools, the baseball is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when you fool around and leave, you step out of there, in the Power 5, people got better pitchers, bigger, better athletes. It's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But there are kids that can play. North Carolina A&T for the first time, was a participant. And boy, did they bring a few good players. So they got good players there. Prairie View is really a big surprise. They're undefeated. They went undefeated. They beat a lot of people. They came back. They fought. Obviously, Southern is going to be pretty good. Southern really have a good team speed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't swing the bat as good as I like to see right now. Their pitching is decent, even though they had a little up and down over in Vero Beach. So Alabama State is going to be a team to reckon with. So when you start putting all these teams, and Grambling, of course, you're going to see a really good competition and make it a really good fight to see who wins the conference.
What was it like now to have this classic? Because it's been played in New Orleans for many years as well, but to transition to Vero Beach, and why?
Well, this is where MLB wanted it. They wanted it in their own facility. The facility is A+. They got plenty practice field for the teams if they want to practice, work on things while the game is going on. So it allows a lot more opportunity. The kids, the historical part of it, Perry, was really off the wall, off the chart. Let me tell you why. Branch Rickey back in the 40s obviously had insight. He was forward thinking. When he bought this facility, it was an army barrack. He bought it because he knew that he built sleeping quarters and a place to eat. Because he knew he was going to be signing black players, and they wouldn't let him stay in hotels. And they wouldn't let him eat in restaurants. So he brought everything in-house. And to this day, everything still exists other than it been renovated and everything is top-notch, and they built some other things around it, calling it Jackie Robinson Stadium. So this man was forward-thinking in everything he did, and he created a really good situation over there.
Let's talk about this. Jeremiah Clark is asking in the comment section. He asks, Coach, what do you think about the amount of walks that have occurred in the first 2 weeks of HBCU baseball? It's a troubling number.
Well, because it's early. Pitching need to get that time in just like hitters. So they're probably trying to do things that they can't do. So they're going to have to curve that in, bring it in, and just make pitchers understand you got to get ahead of hitters. You got to throw probably more fastballs. Those are the things I did see in some situation where pitchers are trying to throw too many breaking pitch. Right now, throw fastball. Get your arm in shape. Get ready. It's early, so you'll be able to get good arm conditioning, and then you'll be able to master your pitches a little better down the road. What I did when I was coaching, we really stayed almost exclusive away from curveball early in the season. We did fastball changeup. Basically, that's what we did.
That's kind of a method to your madness, just to get guys in the rhythm to get going. Don't try to put too much in their repertoire early. Ease them into it.
Yeah, because I knew something from being a baseball player, not just a high school, college, and professional player, that hitters were trying to get that time in too. And I always used to have my pitcher watch. Let's watch batting practice. That was a method there too. Why you want pitchers to watch batting practice? Because I wanted them to see how many fastball that they know fastball is coming, that the hitters don't do nothing with. So imagine that they don't know what you're throwing. How they're going to hurt you so much? You got me? So it's just a simple thing. You got to make sure people understand. It's a science to everything.
Yeah. Can you speak about the strategy of coaches when you're talking about tournaments to start the season? How do you typically, if you're a coach, go into strategy of trying to win early season tournaments like that?
Well, that wasn't my most important thing to try and win it. I had a philosophy. I knew that for us to make the tournament, we had to win. To make the region, we had to win the SWAC tournament. And I've always tried to make sure my players were playing better toward the end of the year going into the tournament. It's when it really matters. So the beginning of the year where it's important, it's not the most crucial thing.
You look at then when you get into the SWAC tournament and now it's time to turn the heat up because you're trying to win a conference championship. How do you then look back and evaluate a season of a lot of baseball to now put that in a small amount of time to make sure you get the best out of your guys?
Well, you want to always keep it as simple as possible. I think too many times people put a load on kids' back that they can't handle. Lighten the load so they can move a little better. And that's really what I used to do. Keep everything simple, guys. We know what we could do. We're going to do the things that got us here. Always remind them about doing the things that help them to be successful. Reminders are important.
You talk about those reminders. 3 points. What would you tell your hitters your infielders and your outfielders in a game, if you needed to make adjustments, how would you make those adjustments when from
see the ball, swing and hit it. You have to see it, you have to swing, and then you got to hit it. It's simple.
It is.
I'm telling you, kids, you can't make this thing. I know people want to use philosophy that sounds good. Cliche that sound, that ain't helping the kid. Hey, man, you got to see the ball, you got to swing and hit it. You have to do those things to hit the baseball. Then the fielder, you want to make sure you keep your eyes on the ball, release step, stay in front of the ball, and make the good throw.
You know, I had called you the other night. I had a homegirl call me about her son, and she was asking me about baseball. And I said, I talk to a legend almost every day about baseball and watch enough of it. And I was explaining because she said she wanted her son to work on. And all I kept telling her is baseball is repetition. It's practice over and over. And it was like, it's not what she wanted to hear.
She
like,
don't want to hear that.
Yeah, it's like.
Because she been listening to coach who are feeding her foolishness.
Yeah. And I told her all you have to do, in order for him, because she said she didn't want him to step into the swing. I said, well, the only way you can get him to, it's more than you just telling him don't step. He has to become comfortable in not stepping into the swing and get comfortable with adjusting it. You know what takes that? What changes that? Constantly throwing ball to him and constantly him having to adjust to do that. You just can't tell somebody to change something. And it's like a quarterback. If a quarterback doesn't have the right throwing motion, you can't tell him he has to practice that over and over and his step drop the same way. A batter has to practice that. You got to hit 50 to 100 balls if that's what matters for you to be able to change that.
No, you got to hit thousands. You know, what I do now, I spoke to a couple of kids this weekend, and I said, if you want to be a better hitter, got to swing. You got to swing 500 to 1,000 swings a day.
And she did not want to hear that at all. That's why I said, you know what, I'm going to call Coach, because she was like, you know what, we're not seeing eye to eye. And I'm like, I don't understand. You want me to just say this how it has to be? I'm telling you, he has to sit there and take those swings to get comfortable to then transition his new position. So,
and have somebody working with him who know what they're teaching. This is why a lot of African American kids don't want to play baseball, because it's a game of failure. And if you got somebody who don't know what they're teaching to help them understand they're going to fail, then they're not going to deal with it. They can go to, if you hit 50% of your shots in basketball, you're a success. You're successful. So this is why we got to make sure we got the right people coaching these kids so they can get a better grip of what's happening in baseball. Is that lady's son goes to a school here in Baton Rouge?
Down in Ascension Parish.
Okay, because I got a call while I was in Vero about some lady talked to me about her son, who is supposed to be a really good athlete, about 6'3", can really 6'2", can run.
Oh no,
that's not okay. Yeah, well, I get calls all the time. The one thing that I tell people, I don't do lessons.
Yeah.
I didn't do them when I'm coaching, and I'm sure not doing them now because I don't have the time to do it. And to do lessons, you got to do them every day almost. If you want a kid to really grasp what you're trying to do, you got me?
You retired.
Yeah, you're right. That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Somebody I see was talking about when you brought up Prairie View, they said they lost to Houston last week, 27-1. What does that say about Prairie View's team?
Nothing. Means nothing because they didn't pitch the pitch. Remember, scores. I saw some team beat another team 22-3 something. SEC school beat somebody. That means nothing to me, because Prairie View was pitching some people that they were saving for the tournament probably, so they can play really good on light competition. You got me? And so Prairie View, I'm looking at that team, so I know they're decent. They're a really decent team. So the 27-1 means nothing. That's the best thing I could say.
Yeah. For you, when you look at games like that as a coach, or you suffer a defeat like that.
Yes.
How does that work moving forward? Do you let the team know we're working, we're building, keep your head up? How does that work from you as a coach?
Well, to start with, I know he probably started a pitcher that he didn't intend to use in the Andre Dawson invitation if they played Houston last week because he was saving the pitchers for the weekend. And so I don't want to be too harsh because in the SWAC tournament, the same situation came up. Texas Southern, they got down in the SWAC tournament. Well, he knew they weren't coming back, the coach, so he decided to pitch a kid that he wasn't going to pitch in games that were meaningful. And the mother took offense when I said, "What is happening? The coach is at the pitch at the bottom of the barrel type pitcher now, so he can save people that he can depend on for games that to survive at this point." Oh, she didn't like that. Maybe I shouldn't say the bottom of the barrel, but that's really what it is.
Yeah. It's like football when the third string quarterback comes in. You know where the game pretty much stands at this point.
And you got to understand your son is who he is.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something that he is. He's something that he's not. So I understand. Criticism don't always hurt, but they can also help you. And I used to tell my players, a lie will help you, but boy, it's going to hurt you. The truth is going to hurt, but boy, it's going to help you. So that's what happened. You can lie to someone, it's going to help him temporarily, but it's going to hurt him down the road. The truth going to hurt right now, but it's going to help you down the road. So you just, those are the things you had to make. So my players develop an understanding that when I told them the truth, I was trying to help them.
And the truth is, when you look at games like that, you're looking at the low-resource teams of the HBCUs. It's going to take a season to get those guys developed and get them more so than, let's just say they lost 27-1 to Houston. Houston may have some guys that they recruited, maybe a lot more polished coming in. And, of course, it's going to be probably a lot more diverse. When you're looking at an HBCU roster, it's not going to have as many white kids who probably been playing that travel ball and doing all that other stuff. You're going to have to really work with guys in live game with the game speed to try to coach and build them up, like you said, to get to that tournament part. And that may be the part that people typically miss because they're looking for teams to come in and be ready to compete on that level with those teams like a University of Houston to start off.
Yeah, no, the University of Houston, they put much more into that program. Prairie View is not that bad. And baseball is a game. You can't always look at the scores. It's one game. It was in the middle of the week. For the large part, I used to discard a lot of them games.
Okay, that's what I like. Talk about those midweek games. I like that.
Well, midweek games, you're at a disadvantage no matter if you're in HBCU playing a predominant white school. They're going to have more arms than you. And the quality is going to be a little better in that pitching. So, and you're going to probably play them on their turf, home turf. So a lot of things are against you. I've been there. We played the LSUs and the Tulane and the University of New Orleans and the UL. Those were our midweek competition. We were a little better in terms of having depth when I was coaching, but the depth that we had doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and that's the bigger thing, the depth. And then it goes back to the conversation we continue to say. And you said, hope to see more African-American players get back into the game of baseball because I don't think people truly understand how bottom out. You talked about the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Black athletes treat baseball, when it comes to the athletic sports, almost at the bottom of the barrel. It is the least favorite sport. You're going to get football and basketball all day, but you actually go into the neighborhood, you don't see kids playing catch with baseball and glove no more. The average kid ain't walking around with a bat. I used to just hit rocks with a bat and do all, whatever. You don't see that no more. You see basketball, football. And I think the harsh reality is a lot of people just don't truly understand how far we've fallen when it comes to the game of baseball in our community.
And how long it's going to take to get it back.
Yeah.
See, that gap from the 70s to now, it's been 50-some years. It might take another 30 years or so if we're able to get it. Once you lose something, it's hard to get it back. You know, and I never would have dreamed that it would drop that far, but it really has.
For you, when you look at that, is it disheartening to know that you love the sport? You recruited so many guys around the nation into the game that you love and that you coached and won a lot at, and now you look at where it is today to just say, like, how?
I'm going to tell you, back in 1973, Emory Hines, my college coach, said to me, Cador, I won't be coaching this game any longer. Why, Coach? Won't be able to get the black boy anymore. He said, integration has killed the black coaches, and the white coaches don't want the black baseball player. He'll take the football and basketball. Now here is 1973. This man telling me this. Integration had only been in Louisiana 3 years then. It was only 3 years old. And he saw it. He saw it. He said, the white coach don't really want the black baseball player. You want the football and basketball. Darn it, did this guy nailed it. And so this is what happened. He nailed it. The first game that we started playing, we played baseball before football and basketball. Now look what has happened. Everything has flipped over.
It really has.
It's flipped over. And so, you know, I'm on a mission with the commissioner office, MLB, trying to make sure we can provide opportunities for as many black kids and disadvantaged kids there are. This is what we do. You know, we talk to them, we give clinics, we do everything.
And I think at that same instant, what you said your coach told you, I think that's why we don't see the respect really put onto baseball. And when you start to talk about these huge classics that you're working with MLB and the All-Star Weekend that you're doing with MLB. Now, if that same thing was done like the Legacy Bowl down in New Orleans, you know, everybody wanted to get all the hype because it's football.
Yeah.
Same thing with basketball with the All-Star game going on during the Final Four weekend. But it's just like when it comes to baseball, it's like, oh, well, you got a small group that, you know, supports and love it, but the overall fan, the overall supporter of that athletic program kind of would look at baseball and just like, did we win? Cool. If we didn't, all right.
The conversation came up too. How can we get more black fans to the games? That would help. People at MLB saying that would help. And I said, baseball is the one sport that's a family affair. And you can have family conversation. So it ain't going to happen at a football game. Can't happen at a basketball game. Too much action. But baseball allows you to talk to little Johnny. Little Johnny, how was school today? How Miss Jones do with your math? Did she help you with that math problem? I mean, those are the kind of stuff you can do at baseball. It's a family. It's a family sport. And this is why we've got to try and find a way, some kind of way. Because the family is being destroyed in America. Got to try and find a way we can have family go out to entertainment together. Well, they could be a family. And they could talk about stuff.
I think our attention span is probably a little too short for baseball these days. Basketball and football just give you the big hit, the big catch, the ooh, the ah. Baseball, it take a while to see a ooh and ah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but I'm looking at that family value, though.
Yeah.
There are people who still want family. I mean, family is still important to people.
It's important to me.
Yeah. You know what I like about when I go to Latin America, Central America, South America, when we work with the people, with baseball? Grandmothers, grandfather, mama, dad, aunt, the little kids, they're all there together. And I said, darn if this could happen in America. I mean, these people all are there.
And it happens in the white community. Go to a baseball tournament over the weekend. You'll see the entire family out there supporting little Johnny or whoever else.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's just, and it's a thing of beauty for me because I'm looking. My job is to find something different, anything that's going to help baseball, bring it to the commissioner's office, talk to people about it. You got me? See if it's stick against the wall. I talk to those people about any and everything, you know.
Baseball need halftime and do a performance in the World Series. And do like the Super Bowl. It needs something.
Well, we want to do that.
Yeah.
But I want to also, there is a Cuban gentleman out in New Jersey, Rojas, Mr. Rojas. He worked with catchers, high school catchers, and his lovely daughter works for MLB, and she told me this week, Coach, you have one of the biggest fans ever. I said, really, who? My dad. So, Mr. Rojas, she told me, don't try to pronounce your first name. I'm going to mess it up. But you have a great daughter. She works hard, and she loves you very much. So I want to let you know that, Mr. Rojas. I didn't ask her, was Cookie Rojas or is Cookie Rojas related to you all? So if you're listening, let me know.
All right, I'm going to let you guys know we have reached the end of another great episode, our final show for the month of February. So we're going into March, and things are going to really get up in baseball, right? You start looking at college sports, and we'll be talking about all types of things. Basketball, Coach, you love basketball too. So basketball, March Madness Conference Tournament, and just life in general. We're going to talk about all of those things. So we're glad that you guys tuned in today. The comments have been going. Hey, I like everything that's going on. Jeremiah, Elwin, Vark, all you guys, everybody that's watching it. If you're going to come back and watch after the fact, hit that subscribe button right there at the bottom of this video. Hit that and become a subscriber. We don't need anything from you. We don't need your social security number, your birth certificate. I don't need to know your 401k. I don't need to know nothing. I just want your love and support and be able to share this and let everybody know, because what we're doing, we're archiving our oral history with a legend like Roger Cador, my man, Garrett Edgerton, on the board with the neurosurgeon, as Coach called him. He's going to make sure in the future he and Coach work together, and then I'm Perry White. I'm just the glue right here trying to make sure it all stick. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Coach, you gonna get us out of here, Coach?
Yes, sir.